Okay, let us bow down 3 times. Bow once. Bow twice. Now the 3rd time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sit comfortably.
Oh, sadhu already, so we can go. They're satisfied already. As we have learned during our pilgrimage, anicca vata sankhara. What does that mean? Anicca vata sankhara. Oh, okay. All conditioned things are impermanent. And so is our pilgrimage. Right? So we had 2 weeks plus with each other, but everything comes to an end. The nice things, the not so nice things, the neutral things, everything that is conditioned, that has arisen, will have to cease at some point. And whether we like it or not, makes no difference. It's a law of nature. And the more we can flow with this law of nature, the less we suffer on account of it, isn't it? But if you fight against it, if you fight against the law of nature, well, we'll see who will be the winner. Nature or us. So the more we can accept and be in line, oh yeah, things are changing, are transforming, are impermanent. If I hold on and try to conserve something, I will suffer because it's not possible. But if I'm okay with it, that was nice, it will change, it will cease, then it's okay. So suffering is optional. Impermanence is not optional. So during all this pilgrimage time, I had the opportunity many times to meet with all of you and answer manifold questions after lunch the last few weeks, and then also we had our Dhamma sharings in the evenings and guided meditations. So I have actually nothing to add anymore. I've wasted all my powder, nothing to add on. However, I realized actually we have quite a number of monastics here with us, and they were thinking today could be a good opportunity if there are any remaining questions or concerns or topics that you have on your mind, feel free to bring it up, and then we'll find one of the monastics to kindly answer your question. And I think that could be quite interesting, because, often traditionally we think, they're senior monks, they will know all the answers. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And you would be surprised, at least I have often been surprised, how much wisdom, how much understanding is sometimes found in quite junior Sangha members, or even novices sometimes. And that's why the Buddha said, never underestimate a young monk. It doesn't mean that there's no wisdom, or he can actually know the Dhamma better than some of the most renowned or senior monks. So let's see what these young monks have to share. No pressure, anyone, So for this reason, I would like to open up a little bit. We have a bit of a Q&A session, especially related to Dhamma or monk's life, whatever is on your heart. Feel free. Maybe you phrase the question first, and then I will find a suitable monk for you to answer. Anything on your mind? Don't be shy. Now is the time. It can be something related to the pilgrimage itself, or monk's life, or Dhamma, or monk's rules, whatever interests you. If not, we go to the sharing of merit. Okay, here we go. Hold on a second.
Bhante?
Yes.
Yeah, I think quite frequently I think many of us may be familiar with anicca and dukkha. But for the non-self part, maybe would you like to clarify, or maybe just let us know how should we apply this non-self in our life?
Wow, that's a deep question. I'm not so sure we have a Sangha member who can answer that, but okay. Let me look around here. Nobody, huh? Nobody there. Who? Where's Pania? Usually those who are the most eager, they never get the chance, you know. You want to give it a try? Okay. 5 minutes max, right?
I see non-self as, you can think of non-self as a company, like a company like Apple. It's just a convenient fiction. So most of the time we just building up the sense of self through thinking about the past, the future, and think it's just constructed thoughts. And what actually we can see is just the 5 aggregates and 6 sense contacts arising and passing away. And if we are able to just observe and not allow thoughts like I am, I may be this, may I be this, I would be this, then maybe our mindfulness will come back to the present moment. And whatever happens to us, the things we conventionally call ours, like the phone got broken. Let's say I tell you there's a phone that got broken. What will your reaction be? Nothing much, right? You need to ask, is it my phone or other people's phone? If other people's phone, then no issue. If it's my phone, then suddenly there's a lot of heartache. And what's the difference between that? It's our mental projection, clinging on to things outside as ourselves. What is not self, we cling as self. And it's not just the phone, it's all the 5 aggregates, or every conditioned things. It's because they are impermanent, they arise and fall, therefore they are not really satisfactory. Whatever that this condition will change, will cease. Once the condition ceases, then whatever that we cling on to that is to impermanent things, that will cause us suffering. And therefore what is impermanent and suffering and condition is not really worth to call ourselves. Like a company, we tend to think of Apple is environmentally unfriendly when they introduce delete the the earphone plug and forces us to use the earbud. But then is it really a company that does it, or just individual people in the company, or many factors contributing to it? Similarly, is it our body, this mind, is it really there's a soul in there that controls things, or is it just conditioned? Everything is conditioned, like a robot. And if we are able to try to maintain this view of just seeing moment to moment arising and falling, we can gradually let go more and more of attachment to things that are not ours as ours. And less attachment means less suffering, until one day we can actually see all things are not self. Then maybe that's the true meaning.
Follow-up question? Related to the same point? Okay. No, she has a follow-up question first. Short one.
Okay, for the non-self, if like a sotapanna, in order to attain sotapanna state, I'm sure the person would have eradicate non-self. But maybe, I'm not too sure, there's also in a sotapanna state that you need to also remove self-identity. What's the difference between this non-self and the self-identity that's in the sotapanna phase?
Okay, that's a good question for Sotapannas. That's my Ariyadhammika. It's not a claim, I'm not saying, it's just by random.
So, first, I wouldn't think of it as Sotapanna removing the self, or I'm not sure exactly how you phrased it. The Sotapanna has removed the fetter of personality view. In Pali, it's called Sakaya Ditti. So this means he has removed the view that that like there is any lasting self in some of the five aggregates, or that all the five aggregates are the self, or that the self is outside of the five aggregates, or things like this. But it's still, on the level of stream enter, it's still removing the view. It doesn't mean that he has completely eradicated any sense or perception of self or conceit. So this thing comes only at the stage of Arahant, who has Arahant is the only one that has really removed any conceit. So actually, I think also sometimes people worry a lot about this having conceit and identifying, but it's good to realize that only Arahant completely removes this. So even Anagamis, they still sometimes have this conceit, so it's a very high goal. But in terms of the difference of what stream enter removes and what Arahant removes, so the difference is that for stream enter, it's the personality view. The view, it's only like the way sort of you think about things. So he has removed the view that there is a lasting self, but he still can take things personally. He can still identify with things. But then when he thinks about it, he understands, he has the right view, and he understands that there is no lasting self. But on the level of Arahant, the conceit that Arahant removes, this is really the subtle, deep level of conceit. That means he really never, even for a second, he would never identify with anything. He would never identify with his body or his feelings, perception, formations, consciousness. So this is, of course, much higher level. And also, last thing, this conceit, what Arahant removed, this is sometimes it's explained as like comparing. So the person doesn't compare. He doesn't have superiority conceit. Means he doesn't consider himself as superior to anyone else. He also removed what is this equal? I don't know how to call it, equality conceit. He also doesn't think, oh, I am equal. We are equal as others, because this is still sort of identifying. There's still the I. And also he doesn't have this like inferiority conceit, so he doesn't think, oh, others are better than I am. Simply remove any notion of I, any notion of identification.
Bhante, this is follow-up question from the non-self. If we take that there is no self, no permanent entity, then what is it that allows the Buddha and a lot of his disciples to be able to recall their past life? Many past life, what were they before and all that? Okay? So if they are able to recall this, isn't there supposed to be some entity that relates this life to the past life, to the next life, and so on? How does it work?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Sada. Can we have the microphone? Do you understand the question, right? Yeah. What is it that goes from life to life? If there's anatta, who get the vipaka of past karma.
Firstly, my English is a little poor. Yes. Anatta's meanings is there are firstly as and asta, not asta. And nas is the negative. Attas means the equal. That is why Buddhist Pasamod, the Masaka Bodhana Sutta, the Buddha never used anatta. Because that at this time of the Buddha, most of people are they take refuge Atma. That is why he don't want to against any people, other religious teacher. The second teaching of the Buddha, this sutta is the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. This sutta is very important. First line, why is Buddha never use the anatta? This is a very important point. Because if he use the atta and anatta, they will never listen to the first psalm. I think it's in my opinion. Yeah, they will never listen. Because at the time, many people they believe in our body. One is creator in our body. One, he is making anything for us. But Buddha is according to the Buddha teaching, there is no Atma, no anatta. Why? Okay, how can Bruce? There is no anatta in our mind. Firstly, we should know atta. Atta means ego, creator in our mind. But Buddha is karma is very important in our life. Our past karma is created, connected with the new karma. Prisa Smupara. You know, Prisa Smupara is very important teaching for the. If you know the Prisa Smupara, you will know the process of the life. Yeah, very, very, very difficult to sometimes we can memorize the some incarnation people. They can memorize the past life when they were young. They can. I was when I less existent. I am. My name is. My name is Sachana. But like my name was Sachana. But like maybe, but they can memorize. But a little old age, they cannot memorize. But this in our mind very clear. In our mind very clear, we can memorize our past existence. It's we have concentrate samadhi, very deep samadhi. But this is our life is not created other people. Our life is our past karma affairs. I forget one day. I know the Burmese, but I don't know English. Line, you know the sun. You know aeroplane. Then the smoke are the line behind the aeroplane. Our life is like the stand, only one stand. We cannot guess because our desire, our craving, our tanna is making again and again. That is why I think as we has Adda, always has Atta. Our Atta can create two store. Young is, we want to do young is, but we are old is. Older and older, bigger and bigger. Because then Buddha said that like that. If you have the Atta, your Atta, it can create you what you like.
Can control.
Yeah.
You should be able to control.
Yeah, you can control your body and you can control your mind. If you don't have the Atta, that is why you cannot control your body and your existence. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
This is pasta.
Good. No. Actually, I also learned something. There was a hypothesis that Bhante shared that Buddha had a good reason why he didn't share the Ariyadhammika Sutta straight away at the beginning to these 5 ascetics, because it was speaking about non-self. Whereas in the ancient tradition where the 5 ascetics come from, they all believe in a soul that gets reincarnated. So he held those special teachings beside for a short while, and first addressed the 4 Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, and make them stream enterers first. And then only then he would give them another discourse when they are more ready and accepting and already on the path. So this is the Venerable One's hypothesis, why he didn't start straight with the Ariyadhammika Sutta. So that's kind of interesting. Okay.
Following Sayadaw's question, just now your answer. So you talk about the mind memory. Yeah. So how can we identify that mind memory that arises is valid or is just a man-made story?
Speaking of stories, Venerable Rahula, is it real or is it just a story? This is a question for you.
Well, I come from the Burmese tradition, so as Sayadaw was now speaking, I could hear what he's talking. What he was talking actually is very deep, containing many things. So something to add that Sayadaw mentioned briefly regarding also to the question, like you ask what is, and now we go to the Sanya, remembering. So one clarification, because of English, Sayadaw mentioned, I think he was using the word memory as remembering past life. So that will clarify. Remembering past life or memorizing something, that will be something to clarify there. And just reminding the Buddha, the Sayadaw mentioned the process is the thing that knows. So who is remembering past life or what is experiencing? One of the similes that the Buddha gave, which is very useful, is like thinking about the car. So who is the car? The wheel is the car? No, Bhante, the steering wheel, the door is the car, is the chassis is the car, is the motor the car. Is only when all the parts that constitute a car is that we can say there is a car and the car can fulfill its function. Isn't it? That's a simile the Buddha gave as the horse cart. So it is the combination of having a body, of having a mind, which constitutes us now as a human beings, that process is the one that is understanding right now these words, and that process of Nama and Rupa has also the ability, as Sayadaw mentioned, in deep states of meditation in the jhanas, to be able to recall previous lives and have a very clear remembrance from past experiences. But Sayadaw also mentioned at some point that as we grow older, at the beginning the child can remember clearly, but as we get identified with the new chapter in this big book, this life is just one chapter of a universal cosmic book that we have been in many chapters. As when we are small, we might remember something clearly that recently passed, but as we start getting identified, I'm Mexican, my mother is this, my new mother is this, my new father is this, so we start getting identify, and then the other story starts getting in the past. As I have learned from the teachers, what knows the things and remembers in a deep mental stability moment, previous life will be just a process, cause and effect moving, but no entity there. The body will not know, and the mind is just arising and passing away, arising and passing away, and actually it's just the movement of the car can only happen when all the constituent parts of car are there. But just by disconnecting one single wire, the whole process of car cannot be turned on. So it's a very complicated, quite miraculous that all our consciousness are now understanding. And I think our potential, because of those conditions now, is great, having contact with all these teachings. So I have that to add. And then referring, you were saying about memorizing. Who memorized, you say? Who remembers?
No.
Still in my memorize. Yes, when I was yes, the memorize. Yes, when we were child, when we was young age, our mind is very clear at the time. Our memory is some incarnation. In our country, there are some incarnation people.
Sometimes young children can remember their past lives.
Yeah, they can
but
remember
they grew up,
the past
they don't
lives.
know anymore.
But when they has OA, they don't remember anything. Firstly, when they were child, and they has past speaking in the 3 year, 4 year at the time, and they told bus assistant he was that person is my son. But these things are my things, like this. This is a very complicated mind process. I wanted to, but then when he is a little old age, he cannot memorize anything. He despair from that situation. I know this.
Yeah. Sometimes also people use that as an argument. Since we don't remember our past lives, it means there is no past life, right? But if I ask you now, what did you have for lunch 3 days ago? Can you remember? Can you remember exactly what you ate? What are the dishes? It means you had no lunch? You had lunch, right? Well, you cannot remember. Or with your dreams, also like that. You wake up, for the first few seconds, maybe half a minute, you can remember very clearly the dream. 10 minutes later, sure, it's gone. So our brain, our mind is not made that we can remember things that are not relevant anymore. In fact, if you were to know everything that has happened, all the lives in the past, you would have trauma and all kind of psychological issues from having been killed and all the other things that happened to you or that you have done. Wow, we're very fortunate that we don't remember all of that. It's only those few things that are relevant. So if you cannot even recall what you ate 3 days ago, forget about remembering your past lives. No chance. But also, it's not necessary. For liberation, most important, you know how to overcome the defilements.
Sorry, Bhante. When brother was asking this question, these terminology appear in my mind. Rebirth linking consciousness, is it linked to this?
Rebirth linking consciousness linked to this. Vijo, Majjhima. What's the role of rebirth linking consciousness in early Buddhism?
Rebirth linking consciousness. So, like traditionally in the understanding of the Theravada, then like consciousness is a stream of rising and falling. But I would personally share my understanding. So, my understanding is that like consciousness is still a stream that continues. Because it's a stream that continues, then rebirth linking consciousness refer mostly still to that consciousness, that same consciousness that you're experiencing now. In order to understand rebirth linking consciousness, we need to go back. First, do we really understand the consciousness that's happening really right now, right at the moment? Do you see, do you aware that you're fully and not identified with that awareness? When you are not identified with that awareness, then you gain a certain understanding that this awareness will continue. Like it will continue and it keep continuing. It's not just a matter of rising and falling. When the Buddha speak about like origination and cessation, he's speaking about the cessation of the whole process of consciousness here. So, go back to your term. If you ask about what is rebirth linking consciousness, my understanding is that this same, the consciousness process here, is the stream here, will continue to flow. It will continue to flow, and when it passes the threshold of death, it will keep going. And because it keep going like that, they call it rebirth linking consciousness. But this process, the Buddha, the important thing is that we realize that the whole process of flowing here, the Buddha teaching that it can be stopped, is the most important thing. He doesn't just teaching that this process is rising and falling. He teaches that this process can be stopped like permanently. It's kind of putting an end. So, it's my understanding. The rebirth linking consciousness just refer to the fact that the stream of consciousness will continue flow that beyond the physical death of the body. So that's my understanding.
Yeah. Fourth, fifth row.
Bhante, please correct me if I'm wrong. In one of the suttas, the Buddha said, when the Arahant reaches Parinibbana, the consciousness does not land. Okay? Does not land, which means the rebirth consciousness is still flowing in Arahant which has reached the end of his life. It is still there, except it does not land and form into a being. I'd like to know if that is the correct assumption.
Me too. Yeah, you add on something. Listen carefully, Bala.
And is the consciousness the Gandhava?
Okay. Yeah, okay. There's so many questions at once. Ariyadhammika, consciousness expert.
Here we go again.
Finished.
So the question is, in short, does consciousness continue after death for the Arahant in Parinibbana? And I guess to give some short answers there, Parinibbana simply means, the final extinguishment. And so, in the life of the Arahant, what is firstly extinguished is greed, hatred, and delusion. So his mind is free from any impure defilements. But at the time of death, what finally extinguishes is the five khandhas. So there's no more form, no more feeling, no more perception, no more volitional formations, intentions, thoughts, ideas, plans, worries, and no more consciousness is the last one. And there's one sutta where the Buddha says that to describe the coming and going, the reappearance of consciousness outside of the five khandhas, that is impossible. And it's quite a prevalent view that you might hear, especially coming from Thailand, that perhaps even quoting this same passage, that in one way or another consciousness continues, it's luminous, it's bright, it's radiant. But the Buddha very clearly never describes it as such. I think something that all of us have to come to understand at some point is that what the Buddha really describes in regard to Nibbana, Parinibbana, is just the ending of an unwanted process. Because the bhikkhu, the male and female lay follower, eventually they become weary of existence. They no longer want it. They just seek ceasing. I hope that answers your question. Does it answer your question? Okay. The Gandhava. The Gandhava is described as the being which is ready to seek the next rebirth. So kind of in the interim phase after death, when craving is still around, when there's still desire and lust, and he sees the parents, he sees what they're doing, and he's ready to seize on that opportunity to be reborn. So that's what the Gandhava is described by. That went good.
By the way, you will get a very different answer if you ask an Orthodox Buddhist monk, especially in the Burmese tradition. There will not be an agreement that there will be an intermediate state. So the Burmese monks will, right, Sayadaw? And in the Ariyadhammika, it's explained there is death, there is rebirth linking consciousness, but it's antivinyana, and immediately afterwards, straight afterwards, you cannot even take a breath. There's no time. Immediately there happens rebirth. Whereas in the suttas, we speak of a sambhavesi, being seeking rebirth, or a Gandhava, or Anagamis can become liberated in the intermediate state, supposedly, according to one sutta. So there's plenty of indications that there can be an intermediate stage between death and rebirth. Bhava in Paticcasamuppada, Bhava Paccaya Jati, might also refer to this forming, becoming, before birth. So that's just a bit of food of thought for those of you who are deeper interested in this topic. Yeah?
Yeah, Sukhihoto Bhante. So just now was Venerable answering that the relinquished consciousness that landed into the new beings. So I remember there's one sutta, the fisherman's son. When the fisherman's son is going to, to talk about this, the rebirth actually is consciousness, rebirth consciousness. And when Buddha heard about it, no, that is not my teaching. That is not my teaching. Exactly. Basically, he is saying the fisherman's son actually is expounded a wrong teaching. It's not the Buddha. Yeah. So, the Buddha was saying, the consciousness arises, it depends on condition. It's just that the birth, yes, there may be a birth, but the birth is just a condition. It may be changing based on the previous consciousness, but it may not be the same consciousness. So as a consciousness traveler, it may not be the continuous, it's the same consciousness, but the consciousness will keep on changing. It's anicca. Its arises depend on condition. And when you go deeper into this, it's anatta. There is no consciousness. The thing is just, it's just like that. It's a nature. There's no, it's a process. There's no self there. It's everything is just
What's
a process.
Your question?
So, what I mean, because over here a lot of, they saying that, look like the consciousness is the one that landing into a new being. So, but what I read from the sutta, the consciousness, the same consciousness is not landing on this new being. And it's in the sutta that this is not the teaching of the Buddha. That is what I understand. I'm not sure my understanding is correct.
So, as the monks have already mentioned, it's the Gandhava, the being that seeks rebirth, that is spoken about, it enters into the mother's womb. So, consciousness is arising and ceasing throughout life, all the time. Eye consciousness arises, ceases, ear consciousness, and the others. So, to say there's one consciousness that continues, even during lifetime, that's not the case. Not to speak of between death and rebirth. So, there's no one thing. Yet, you can say, it's like a river. There's no one river, right? It's every water, every liter of water that is coming down the river is new water. But at the same time, we can also refer to this river. Oh, that's the Ganges River. It's the same. The Ganges River is not the same as different river. So we can differentiate, give a name, okay, there's a continuity in a sense of individual moments that are connected one to the next, to the next, to the next. So in that sense, they're the same, but they're also different. It depends how you want to look at it. But there's no one thing that just continues throughout life. That would be like in Hinduism, where they speak of reincarnation. That's the same soul or one consciousness that just changes bodies. This is not the Buddhist idea of rebirth. So I'm very much with you on that point that you're making, that there's no one consciousness that just transmigrates from one life to another. Thanks for the clarification. Okay. Wow, today very deep questions. Oh my goodness.
Spicy food?
Spicy food, spicy questions. Okay.
Bhante, does Buddha offer explanation to the origin of the world? I know that there's one part where it says there's the imponderables, where one of it is we don't think about it, or if there's no way to explain. But I've also seen a book published in Sri Lanka about Buddha's explanation on origin of the world. So if you could just explain a bit on this. Thank you.
I won't do that. When I was here, I've been in Sri Lanka. Maybe I've seen your Sri Lankan book, The Origin of the World of the Loka. When I was there, what do you have to say on that one? What's the origin of the world?
Okay, Bhante. So I'm not sure who asked that question, sorry. So I can get, yeah.
What is the origin of the world, is the question.
Yes. Thank you, Bhante. I did see that book. I never read through it. It seemed very theoretical, but I think that you're right in referring to the Imponderable Sutta, because the Buddha did say that trying to describe the origin of the world or find a first point could make one insane. And in the same way, like thinking back, if one were to recollect past lives and keep going back, you'll never find a first point. Because every moment of existence has to have a precondition for it. So there's always more to go back upon. And obviously to have some sort of existence, there needs to be a world to be within. So likewise, the external world, there's always been something arising and ceasing. The Buddha spoke about the origination or the expansion and dissolution of the world. And in modern times, we can understand that sort of similarly with the theory of the Big Bang. And then some people theorize then there's like a big crunch. I don't know, but maybe if that's how it works, then the world is constantly going through these cycles of expansion and contraction. But because of that, we can't say that there was a first expansion. There was like a first point, and before that, nothing. And it just arose. That's kind of like in Christianity where God said, let there be light. In Buddhism, we don't have something like that, because we always understand that there had to be something before that to allow for what is present to be. So I can't comment on the book that you mentioned. I haven't read it, but yeah, basically what you said, we can't try to think of a first point, because you'll just keep going and 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 going. Yes.
And going.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhante, and all the Dhamma brother and sister for your question. I think there are lots of beginners in our pilgrimage group. I'm afraid that this question that we asked about the world, about arahantship and the end of the consciousness, that all will
scare people away. So I asked a very simple question, for the benefits of all. How to lead a good Buddhist life as lay people, beneficial, good lay people life. How to, how does it look like? What are the suggestions? What are the things that we could do to lead a good lay Buddhist life? This is my question. Thank you.
You're asking us, the monks? Obviously, we don't know. Otherwise, we wouldn't have become monks.
But I believe Buddha do give some advice to the lay Buddhists. Thank you.
We have no clue. That's why they all run away and become monks, But maybe the nuns are a bit more wise here. Meiji Buddhism, maybe you can advise us on this matter. Okay, can we have the microphone?
By the way, Bhante, I haven't changed my name.
Yeah, sorry, just don't. What is your name, by the way?
Same name.
Say again?
Same name.
Same name.
Just practice Noble Eightfold Path.
Okay.
Monastic and lay is the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Noble Eightfold Path.
How to do that in daily life? Isn't that very difficult?
Same for monastic, same for lay people. I think lay people is more challenging, and then you learn more, learn faster.
So how to spend the day? From morning, give us a typical schedule, ideal for lay people, how to spend the day.
Maybe the first day when I came down for buffet breakfast, I think my mindfulness sharpened a lot, because the music is upbeating music, and usually in monastery we are very quiet, collect our food mindfully. But in buffet line, everybody is one hand here, everybody is coming traffic like Indian traffic. So I think that's how mindfulness come back to refresh. I mean, sometimes it's better than in monastery. You have changes. So you monitor the changes and then you adapt the new way of keep checking your mind. Yeah.
What are the challenges that, as a lay devotee, you face the most? When you say how to structure the day or how to live, what are the challenges that you're having in your Dhamma practice? Can you share with us a little bit? And then maybe we are able to more directly relate to that. What is the challenge? Is it time, or is it distractions, or what is it? Most common difficulties. Well, there are no difficulties. Also good, all arahants here. Yeah. First row also. In the back also.
To stay mindful all the time.
Difficult to stay mindful all the time. A lot of distractions.
Things and food all new. So you have to try new food.
So how to overcome the distraction of food, of sense desires, so many things to see, shops to go, things to try out, all kind of dishes, right? There's a big buffet table. Okay, we ask one of the monks. That's my upadi. How's it going?
I guess maybe it's like what we are trying to achieve in this practice. I guess that's related to sense restraint. And then, of course, it's not easy. If it's easy, then we don't have to practice anymore. And if easy, it's not worth it anymore. So I think sometimes might need a little bit of like clenching the teeth, a little bit of force, a kind of aversion. But then at the same time, we know that what we are trying to achieve, keep it in mind. Sometimes it helps with the practice. And of course, in this kind of situation, I guess not for you and then for the monks as well. Like earlier I heard about like distraction, mindfulness, traffic, and then music, this kind of thing, I think all of us, we have 5 senses, which is not self. The very first question, I think we talk about that.
Only 5?
Oh, sorry. I mean, 5 aggregates, 6 senses.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, because of that, then we kind of bound to experience this. But then we have a choice. The choice is, do we want another extra piece of cake? What is it for? Is it for our own happiness, or is it the body is really need a piece of cake? If we need sugar, maybe honey is healthier. Take some honey. So also, I think a lot of times what happened in lay life is that, I speak for myself, is that I don't really care what I eat. Like, I eat a lot of junk food in the past. So I think it's just, then if I keep doing that all the time, I know that the body at some point just cannot take it anymore. And then that's not beneficial as well. So in terms of, maybe most of us here is very interested in Dhamma practice, and then of course a healthy body is important to some degree to help us in the practice. So I guess I would say sense restraint is not easy, but if it's not easy, it's worth it. And then with that goal, what we're trying to achieve in our mind, it will be easier to some degree. We still get some satisfaction. Sometimes we don't have to get satisfaction for another piece of dessert or something, because sometimes we reflect back after leaving the food hall and then reflect back that, I achieved something. I did restrain. I didn't take that piece of cake. I didn't give in to my sense desire. And that is kind of like a muscle building up. And it build up more and more, and then your muscle gets stronger and stronger. And then eventually it's become easier and easier, hopefully. So, I think that's what I can share.
Okay. Something to add on here.
I would like to add something that is very useful. It's contemplating how does the mind feel after we were lost. That helps me a lot. For example, I was lost because of food. Stays looking here and there. Later on, when recognizing, of course, there must be a little, at least a minimum amount of awareness. When recognized, go to the sensation of the body, really check how the being lost, the agitation that is generated in the mind, the agitation that is generated in the body, and then asking the question, am I happy now? I mean, I was lost in all these colors, in all these states, in all these new sounds. How do I feel? Am I happy now? So this question has really helped me a lot. And then on the other hand, when we are mindful, and then before coming to the breakfast, just take one breath before entering the room. Okay, here we go. The lions are coming. Here we go. Then you come, and I will try to be as mindful as I can. Making the determination helps a lot, and then you go, trying to see, the mind is trying to reach. Okay, you try, as Bhante Upali was mentioning, taking care of the senses. And then after, when we manage to balance the mind or we're mindful, then ask the same question. How do I feel now? So when we put both the mental agitation of being lost for 10 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 days, how the mind feels like we feel anxious, we don't know where the mind is, we cannot focus, we worry, fears come more often, more desire. And then when we put the contrast of having been mindful, even for a few minutes, and how the mind feels, just being there, I know what the body is, I know what the body is doing, I know what the mind is doing, and the sense of appreciation, peace, and all the good qualities coming, putting both side to side, in my experience, has been very, very useful. So then after we focus on that goodness that we feel for our own benefit, the mind more and more, even there is a lot of temptation regarding the senses, because we already recognize how pleasurable peace is and how good it feels to have a stable mind. Naturally, the mind, we won't need to be pushing, come on, practice. The mind will be willing to do it automatically, and hopefully one of these days our mind is just living on that state. So that's something that has been very helpful.
Bhante, earlier on the sister asked the question is regarding controlling yourself towards all the sense distraction. So this is more of based on self-control. But talking about avoiding frivolous speech, because frivolous speech comes from if you have a social circle. So if I were to self-control, I know it's easy to avoid frivolous speech, but that may destroy or damage your social relationships because your circle of friends may engage and they may enjoy that. But if you were to avoid, will that affect your social relationship? And people may just say that you are so antisocial. So how to apply the right this? I think because this is beyond self-control. I can have self-control, but I may have a loss of friends. Yeah.
How to control them, huh? Asman Yehuda just recently made the transition. Where is he actually? From lay life into monastic life. So he has a good glimpse from both sides. So I think you could be a good person for that question.
We are social beings, of course, and we need each other. In my experience, or in my transition over the last some years, it's the way when I gave up unwholesome speech, let's say it that way, I lost some people, and but I gained new friends who really appreciate the wholesome. So that might be also a transition. Maybe we are afraid of that a bit, but I can say from my own experience, it's worth doing it. And anyway, we are not so mindful. We cannot do that from one day to the other. So it will take time, and we will not lose our friends from one day to the other, and we will not gain new friends from one day to the other. It's not so easy, of course, in family. I'm aware of that, but I think when we share our own, or when I share my own growth with them, maybe they understand me better, and maybe they learn also something. And it's helpful for their own development and their own growth in the wholesome direction.
Any last one or two questions? If there's still anything, we can have that. Otherwise, we move on. There's just a small comment that comes to mind, about a memory that just came to mind when I was living in Myanmar. And being a newly ordained monk, I was very interested in, also having meaningful conversations, as you are suggesting. Yet, my monk friends, or those who have ordained with me, and those of similar age, most of the time they were actually not speaking about Dhamma or the monk's rules. That's what I would have thought. But also there were quite a fair amount of worldly topics, where do you come from, comparing the countries a little bit, sharing experiences, different types of food. So I was a bit disappointed, actually, almost. I said, okay, so I've been traveling so far, and these kind of conversations I could have had back in Austria also. I wouldn't have had to go so far. So I thought, well, okay, my friends are probably not the best friends, but okay, no choice lah. So at that time I didn't say lah, because the Burmese don't do that. But then I realized my neighbor, another monk, a German monk, and whenever I saw him having conversations with his friends, wow, it was always about Four Noble Truths, Paticca Samuppada, all the really interesting Dhamma topics, and rarely, almost never, heard any conversations that they would have on these worldly topics like I had with my friends. So I thought, wow, it's amazing. Until at some point I realized, hold on. I looked over and I said, he is talking to the same friends as I'm talking to. He doesn't have different friends. We're talking to the same people. What's going on here? And then I realized I got to know him a little bit better. It is what he is doing in those conversations. What he is doing is, you can start any conversation you like. He will find a way to bring it back to the Dhamma. He transitions the conversation. You will speak about durian, and he will say, yeah, durian are not bad, but then, yesterday I eaten durian, but then half an hour later, the taste is gone, and then you feel a bit heavy. Actually, it's not so satisfactory either. And you see, suddenly we speak about unsatisfactoriness. So you can always bring, if you try, you can divert almost every conversation to a Dhamma-related topic. And in this way you can make it meaningful and interesting, not just for yourself. Most likely, especially in our spiritual circles, others might also appreciate it. Because deep down we want to have meaningful conversations, isn't it? We don't want just idle chatter and useful talk. So by bringing, and this is something that every one of us can do, to deliberately look out, okay, when you realize this conversation is just going on, just useless, well, maybe I should go away. Well, you might not have to go away. You can give it a new direction and use the topic that is going on. You don't have to stop them talking. You use the topic and gently, nobody might notice it even, you bring it back. And in this way, you contribute to the conversation in a meaningful way. So this is something that, a memory that just came up, and that something that we can do. And it is something that is in our hands to some degree, and which I found very inspiring from that monk whom I met there in Burma. Okay? All right, I'm aware we're running out of time, but what I would be interested in is, since we now have done this pilgrimage together, we've been knowing ourselves for 2 weeks, we had some chance to meet each other, and we visited all these wonderful places where Enkyong has dragged us towards and introduced us and showed us, and having get the guidance both from him and also our tour guides. It's actually difficult to know, and I'm curious actually what for you, or at least some of you, which were for you the most interesting or inspiring places or experiences that you had during that pilgrimage. I would be curious if anyone wants to share, can just pass the microphone and yeah, go ahead.
Good day to all the Bhantes. Actually, I'm not confident to say because my English is not really good. I just really want to comment that I feel the most is in under the Bodhi tree, where I realize that usually when we practice retreat, we have an environment that is fully controlled. There's where that the environment is very quiet. That when I first meditate under the Bodhi tree, where Buddha achieved the enlightenment, but everybody sit there meditating, but the environment there is very quiet. Is not quiet. It is not meant to design and arrange in such a way that allow all of us to stay there very calm. It's not. It's a totally reality environment that many people there. And once I sit there meditate, no doubt the environment, the energy is very strong that I can achieve samadhi quite in a short time. And by the time I'm stay calm, when my five senses start to, in a calm stage, the whole environment, the sound and the things it's not distracting me at all. Usually, if we are not in such environment, usually in daily life, the sound is just like many sounds, and the sound is not clear. But when I sit under there, the sound is really clear. The sound is come anywhere, but it's a start from one spot, another spot is really clear.
And still it didn't disturb you?
But it didn't disturb me.
Right.
This is the very new experience to me that I will put it in my daily life. That just like Bhante just now said, that we put it in other way. So no doubt when we go back home, we still have to meet our friends, where most of them, they are not Buddhists. They're still talking what about. But the mental state of us, we feel that calm and listen to all type of different topics, or all of us have a different mindset. So we are more, to me, I'm more open and more calm to accept all kind of mindset. If compared with my previous experience, this is my very clear.
Very good.
Yeah, this is my sharing, because this is my most experience.
Most valuable experience of the trip.
Yeah.
Very good. So,
thank you.
So it's not the environment after all, because the sounds are everywhere. Yet you were able not to see them as a problem, because you came from a good heart already, you were uplifted, and suddenly even these loud sounds didn't disturb you. And the last row, very last row, all the way back.
Bhantes, although I unfortunately missed going to a lot of places from being sick, I was very grateful that I could go to Bodh Gaya. And it's very emotional for me to sit there at the Bodhi tree, and particularly to walk the Kankara, to walk in the Buddha's footsteps. It was very powerful. And I liked the fact that there was so much noise and craziness around. I just thought, this is India, this is the world, and yet we have this oasis, this place that has changed so much since his time, and yet this is where he found enlightenment, and it is still possible. So it was very inspiring.
The t-shirt you're wearing will be your long-term reminder of that. In the footsteps of the Buddha. That's what we were doing, Bodh Gaya, Sarnath, all the other places. So that's what we keep in the heart, and the t-shirt will be a reminder for quite a while, until the color fades, changes, disappears, impermanence, anicca vata sankhara. Okay. So you see, I'm bringing it back to the Dhamma.
Bhante and my fellow pilgrims, when we were moving from our coaches moving into Bihar, okay, so along the roads we see a lot of poverty, a lot of trash, okay, and then a lot of disorderliness, and then in Bodh Gaya it was extreme, yeah. And being conditioned as a teacher, where we want orderliness, where we expect cleanliness, it really bothered me. Why didn't the local government clean up the streets? Why are the people still crippled, intentionally or otherwise? Why are the syndicates doing this cruel thing? Okay. And then I remembered the teachings I've read somewhere. I do not know is whether from the Brahma Sampati who told the Buddha, okay, that the lotus flower grows out of the mud. Then in spite of all this, okay, there is the Mahabodhi tree and there is the Mahavihara, and there is the diamond throne. Okay? So, in the midst of all this misery, there is hope for the people. And that's how my heart came to be at rest.
Very good, very beautiful. So, in fact, I would even say that at places like this, where there is a lot of dukkha, obvious dukkha, physical pain, mental pain, poverty, it is there where the rising of the Buddha is the most important, isn't it? In a place where everything is already perfect and you're living like devas, well, okay, it's still nice if a Buddha comes along. It can be interesting to listen to his philosophy. But then it's here, actually, almost in India, where he's really needed the most, where his teachings really can help people to come out of suffering. And some of them will really get it, because they have encountered suffering, and they are not asking themselves, well, I don't have suffering. No, they didn't know what suffering means. And if they hear that there's a way out, that will speak to them. And they want to come out. And they already have an understanding of rebirth. This whole samsaric cycle going on and on and on and on and on and on and walking. So yeah, it's there where it is the most needed. So therefore not a surprise that it happened there. Okay.
So Kyoto, Bhante, brother and sister, I'm always very blessed. So actually I have a lot of good experience towards all my Dhamma journey. So for this pilgrimage, I'm blessed because I'm ready to embark on this pilgrimage tour before we come. So on the day Lumbini. So when everyone pay respect to this Buddha when we visit this Chinese temple. So there's a lot of people inside. I was just outside. So I just pay respect to the Buddha. And suddenly, there is a feeling that Buddha is in me, within me. Yes, there's a Buddha outside. But it's much beneficial. I sit the Buddha within. It's not outside. Yeah. So I realized, and soon I found the triple gem, in fact, is in me, within me. And further, when we go into this Mahaparinibbana temple, so when I think after this meditation, they was be quite calm. They will be on this Upasama Nusati meditation. So I don't know that all the while actually I'm doing that kind of meditation, because before we come we have some very deep discussion about that, but I don't know the name.
The Buddha Nusati meditation, you mean? Okay. Reflection on the qualities of the Buddha.
So before that I circumambulate this temple. Actually when I chant Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, then you give me a different perspective. So the perspective for the how actually we should take refuge on the triple gem. And the subsequent chant of the Itipiso and the Dhamma and the Sangha Vandam, I mean Nusati. And after the meditation, then suddenly my understanding will be a bit fading away. So I was just doing my walking meditation. Then I will say, there is a feeling arises in me. Why don't I go and ask the Buddha? The Buddha is just there. So I enter into this Mahaparinibbana, the temple. So there's a lot of people. The environment actually is quite noisy. And I can chant very loud. I just chant Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. And I keep on chanting. Yeah. the Buddha answered me. I found the answer within. And it's shown in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta.
Nice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The back.
Good afternoon, Bhante and everyone. I'd like to share my experience on this pilgrimage. The first day when the first place when Bhante gave the Dhamma talk and guided meditation was at Saraswati at the Chetavana Grove. That was when something really beautiful happened. I came on the pilgrimage with some issues back home, family issues, which I've been trying to resolve for quite some time. And when Bhante was doing the guided meditation, I'm not sure why, but somehow I've been meditating in many other places, but this place was really fantastic. I got into deep samadhi in a short time, and after that, it's like an answer came to my mind. It just came, and then that's it. I thought about it. That's very logical. That's the answer to my problem. So I got the answer. So I'm very, very happy. Yeah. So this is the first time that I have such beautiful experience when I meditated. In other places, I found the energy and so on, but this is very different. Of course, the place is so perfect. I feel the connection there, and somehow, I'm not sure. There's a lot of energy which I felt coming on this land. And even when I'm going to the temples, we visited in the Chinese temple and so on. When I look at the huge Buddha, all my tears was flowing down. I felt the gratitude, and it's really beautiful. I can't explain. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Anybody here who had a really bad time, suffering from morning until night? Probably Enkyong, huh? Having to organize and facilitate for all of that. Any other testimonies, one or two? Anybody would like to share? Yeah.
Good afternoon to all the Bhantes and all the brothers and sisters here. I'm very sorry to have performed a miracle in front of all the Bhantes and also our friends here. I really regretted about it.
Was it your intention?
No, not at all.
You don't have to regret it.
My experience at the Parinibbana temple. The first day we went, I feel so rejoiced when we presented the ropes. So we were chanting, and then I feel so rejoiced. But then the second day when we went, I was sitting inside and saw different groups coming in. And then they were also monks chanting, and then some of them also, I see some of the devotees also crying. And then at that moment, immediately I felt the moment where the Buddha passing away. I have the feeling so sad inside me. So I nearly cried. And then I just sit quietly inside, and then after some times I feel better. So I think, although our teachers are no more here, but we still can learn the Dhamma. And that's my feeling. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Well, maybe I take the opportunity also to share a little bit what was very outstanding to me. I've been to India before, one time, 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago, again, it is a pilgrimage organized by our dear brother in Kyong. And it's hard to compare both of them. The first one was very excellent and special already. This one also excellent and special. So in that sense, hard to compare. But this time what really stood out to me were actually not so much the places, but it's the community that we have had here together. Both the community of monastics, and I have to say I'm very happy with all of them and each and every one. Also in terms of contacting them themselves, mostly quite okay. And having them here together and doing this together as a group, monks, postulants, and then with all the support and doing it together with all of you. And all these events where we go together, perform our actions together, offering the robes together. And so many hands have been helping in the background to make all of that possible. Not just among ourselves, but then also even people who are still back in KL, who are sewing the robes, and all the organizing, planning in advance. So having had that karma, that activity, not just a day or an hour, going on one after another, day after day, I thoroughly enjoyed that. And doing it not just alone, going on a pilgrimage from one place to another, but sharing that wonderful experience, I found personally very rewarding. So I'm very grateful to having had this opportunity, and also doing it with all of you. And most foremost, also so many thanks to Brother Eng Kyong for taking the burden and the trouble to organize all of that, putting so much time and energy into it. Sometimes yesterday, I don't know when you went to bed, I got a message from him after midnight, saw it only in the morning. So clocking in many hours from early morning until late of night to make all of that possible. So let's give him a Mahasadu, a big sadhu. Brother Eng Kyong, same work in the background with his team, all of us helping hands. So big sadhu for everyone, for the Sangha, for everyone. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We still have program going on because, we cannot not have program. So any free minute, we'll have something interesting to see. So this afternoon, we are going where? Going to the museum, and then going dinner. So, breakfast, a short visit to this gate, going to lunch. A short visit to another place, going dinner. That's how a pilgrimage with Eng Kyong usually looks like. How many of you are still holding the 8 precepts actually? Oh, the group became very small. I wonder why. How many of you are still holding the 27? Actually, our group grew, Our group grew by two monks times 227 precepts is 454. So we increased 550 precepts. So also that was, of course, also for me personally, and I think for many of us, a very special event, being able to have an ordination here in India and on the Ganges River, on this very scenic place, surrounded by corpses. And all the good energy that comes from that place, and knowing what has happened here on the Ganges River, on the bank of the river, and devotees coming, not only Buddhists, Hindus, from all kinds of religions, even some Muslims I saw around there. So it's just amazing, this hub of goodness, wholesomeness, support, and then doing this very wholesome activity, ordination, giving some people the opportunity to go forth, Venerable Niroda, Venerable Jaya. So it's just such a wonderful event. And again, having done it together with all of you will always have a special place in my heart. So thank you for all of that. Having made so much wholesome deeds throughout this pilgrimage, I think this is maybe our last time where we have the opportunity to share merits. We will still see the relics of the Buddha a bit later, but I think this is actually our official closing session where we come together in this format. So let us take a moment. We don't start yet, but we can close our eyes and recollect some of the most special moments that you may have experienced in the last two weeks and a bit more. Some of the moments that really touched you. Somebody said something nice towards you. Or where you had a chance to help someone. All this time of meditation, reflecting on the Dhamma, on the Buddha's teachings, offering food to the monks, to each other, day after day. Then some of us got sick. We have shared medicine, we have given treatments, helped, supported, assisted each other. Beautiful. And so many other small or larger acts of kindness, of generosity. Not just to our own group, but also to monasteries, particularly the Burmese temples, 4 of which had received a katina cloth from you, from our group. Very special. It is not possible to count all the countless moments and minutes and seconds of wholesome karma. We don't have to. All of that karma, all of the goodness, let us share among ourselves, among our departed relatives, friends, supporters, helpers, among all beings. May they all rejoice in it. May they all partake in it. Let us recite together. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang no nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang vo nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Ettavata jamhihi sampadang punya sampadang sabbi satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. And lastly, very important, very, very important, let us also make an aspiration that all the good karma, all that meditation, listening to the Dhamma, reflecting on the Dhamma, will also support us on the path to liberation, towards Nibbana. Please repeat after me. Idang me punyang asavakaya vahang hotu. Idang me punyang nibbanasa vacchayo hotu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay.
May I be allowed to say a few words?
Of course.
Thank you. Bhante, I would like to thank on behalf of our SBS Pilgrimage family, because that's what I said, in the beginning. I said all of us are pilgrimage family from the beginning, and we have to look after each other. And I believe that we have done in the last 2 weeks. Every one of us have been, looking after each other, And of course, I've tried my very, very best to meet the expectation of everyone. And I ask the forgiveness if I'm unable to completely, fulfill all the expectations of everyone. Maybe some sites that I put inside the itinerary that's not able to be to go through. Really, I wish I could do it, but sometimes certain circumstances or cannot be done, and I cannot fulfill it because of these conditions are always changing. Really, I'm very thankful to my team, Brother Sam and Angeline and many, many more, all those people who have very helped me, to make sure that this pilgrimage tour is successful, I think all of us, we have done it together. It's not just myself only. I can't do it alone. Every one of you on this tour came together is because of condition too, And I think we are all very, very blessed indeed today to have the Sangha of SBS, to lead us. At the same time too, I think all of us, on behalf of over here, I will ask the forgiveness of the Sangha, if intentionally, unintentionally, any words of, actions that we do, that we have done over here that, have offended any of the Sangha. May we all be, may all of us over here be forgiven for doing anything that is wrong or what, So please, Bhante, thank you so much, for giving us all a chance to have done this opportunity of doing merits the last 16 days, I think.
Yeah, I forgive you for that.
Thank you.
So also, may you also forgive the Sangha in case the Sangha members have said or done something that you found uncomfortable or displeasing. Also sorry for that. It was probably not our intention, and the same I know is also the case for anyone else. So big sadhu for everyone.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So shall we get ready, everyone? We'll now move on to the Museum to pay veneration to relics of the Buddha.